Down East Woodard, Jim Vanderschaff. Welcome to my shop. I want to talk to you about putting in some floating shelves and the way that I did that. And you can take this method and use it or modify it as I make some suggestions to you. But in any case, what we had is, you can probably see these boards now. These are 4 feet long. This is the part that attaches to the wall. And you can see that it has dowels, and those dowels insert into this board. And so it's critical to get these holes drilled perfectly straight. And if you have a large floor standing drill press, you can cut those easily. If you don't, like I had just a small table mounted drill press, but I used it to drill this hole and got it perfectly square. I verified that that's square, so I can use that as a template to put my drill bit through. I'd have to buy a long drill bit to do that, and then use that to place over top of the place I want to drill the holes and drill them that way. I didn't do it that way, but that's the way you could do it. What I did is went to a friend's house that had a floor standing drill press, and I used that. But I just wanted to show you how I got things set up. The total width of the two boards, or the total width of the board that goes on the wall, is 7 inches in this case. And you can see how far the dowels go in. That's so that they will maintain a good fit with the board that's on the wall. So these dowels go all the way through. You can see it on the other side, and I've glued them in place once I had drilled the hole all the way through. And then I drilled 3 holes, 1, 2, 3 on this board, and then I ripped off this 2-inch wide strip and then placed these dowels into that strip and then sized them to fit into the holes in the other board. So the whole idea is to get this fixed to the wall and then slip the other board on, and then a little trick to hold it in place, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So now I'll show you how I attach these to the wall. This is a simulated wall here. I've drilled 5/8 inch holes through that will allow these toggle bolts to go through. I chose toggle bolts because each one of them can, on drywall like this, hold up to 100 pounds. So I've got 4 of them on here. That's more than enough to hold this well to the wall. But when you put these in, the trick is, how do you do them all at once and be able to tighten them down when you've got a countersink hole here and you can't really hold the end of that bolt? So one of the things I did was to take and put this screw in, which is right over here, and that's nothing more than a 3/4 inch screw, just a sheetrock screw. I drilled a hole right here on each one of these locations, put these screws in. Now you may ask, well, why'd you do that? Well, the whole idea is this. When you have a toggle bolt and you want to hold all of them so that they don't spin, and you can't reach on the inside here because that's inside the wall, if you have this screw on the other side, it stops this toggle from turning, and without touching it anymore, you can screw it all the way in like I'm doing right now. And that's easy if you just had 2 of them to put in, but if you got a whole bunch of them on a wall, you can see that that gets rather tricky, as I'll show you. So let's push these in. Let's do it just like we're putting it on the wall. So they're all held in place like that. Now I want to screw them in. And what I'm trying to communicate here is if you tighten this one, this one, this one, this one very carefully, you could make these things not turn. But if you got something that locks them from turning on the other side, then mounting this on the wall is just so much easier. You just have to turn them a little of the way in. They're being held in place. And they're not going to turn as I screw them all the way in. And so that works quite nicely. That they're all screwed in tight, and you can see that if I try to push down in this hard, it's not going to move much at all. Maybe I could tighten these just a little bit further. I don't want to strip the threads on them, so I'll do that in just a minute. That's nice and tight. This one's tight. This one's tight. The other thing I should mention when doing this is make sure that you have a wall. This is the simulated wall on the inside. It's just a piece of plywood, but make sure you have a wall that's absolutely flat. Now, if it's not flat, what's going to happen is this piece of wood, even though it's 2 inches wide, is going to bow to some direction, and it's going to make putting this second board on this floating shelf very difficult because it'll change the alignment. So you really have to either get a flat wall or shim the wall such that this board is perfectly straight, because that's going to make all the difference in the world. You went through a lot of trouble to drill these dowels straight, so that's what you want to do. Now, the first time I tried this with these dowels, it obviously didn't go on as smooth as that. What do I mean? Well, the hole is drilled to exactly a ½ an inch, and the dowels are ½ an inch, so they're just going to stick a little bit. So what you have to do is take them one by one, like this one, and I just ran it over my my belt sander and took it down just a little bit at a time until I had just the right fit. Then what helps is when it's still quite tight, use a little paste wax on it and it'll make it nice and smooth. All right, so here we go. This is going to be the actual, representing the actual fit up on the wall. It goes on nice and tight. There's a very little bit of a gap there, but if we want to keep this methodology, this allows us, if we don't put glue in there, to take this off and put it in a different location. One of the things I did to hold it in place was on the underside of this board, and I'll just show you that. Right here is a little hole that goes right through the bottom side of this dowel. What's the purpose? Well, when you push it in tight, and I'm just going to simulate that with a clamp. So I'll push it in tight like this to the wall so that gap is minimized. Then take that little screw and find my location right there, and then screw it from down below all the way in. It's a little brass screw, so I don't want to put my drill on it. I don't want to ruin the Phillips head in it, but I just want to tighten it down just like that. It's flush, a little bit more. All right, it's nice and flush. You can't see it because you're looking at this from the top. When you take this free, it keeps a nice gap there. And I'll show you that in just a minute. I'll take the camera and you can have a close. Here's the board fit up that you just saw, and the location of the seam. It's fit very tight, as you can see, all the way along there. Looks quite nice. And so that's the way it's going to look on the wall. And I have another one hanging down here because I was just finishing it. And that's another 4-foot section. And then I'm following that up with putting an 8-footer on the wall that goes all the way here. So anyway, if you have any questions, please give a shout. This method, I think, will work quite nicely, and it would allow the shelves to be moved to a different location. All you have to do is patch the holes in the wall. It's no big deal. So thanks, and please subscribe and give me some comments and a like, and I appreciate your watching this video.